Professor Valeria Fili. It's a pleasure to have you here. She's a full professor of labor law at the University of Udine, and she will deal with an interesting topic, the value of women's work between gender gap and gender equality.
First of all, I want to thank Professor Tiraboschi for his invitation at this prestigious international conference. And I have also to thank all the staff of ADAPT for the welcome and the organization. I'm honored to be here to learn from such distinguished colleagues and to share with them and with you some ideas. I chose to talk about a topic that is extremely significant for me, the value of women's work. Work is not something neutral. Okay. In history, in the present, worldwide, work and its value have a gender. There are so many gender-based differences in everything concerning work, labor markets, and jobs that is unavoidable to bump into the issue of sex and gender discrimination. Talking about women's work and its value, it is necessary to underline that both concepts have been deeply changing during the last century. It is a matter of fact that women's work was considered of lesser value than men's work. And in some countries spread in the world, it is still considered of lesser value than men's work. This belief was or is based on another assumption, that women are worth less than men. We should not forget that the Treaty of Rome in 1957, in the Article 119, provided for the principle of equal pay for male and female workers for equal work or work of equal value. Of course, the expression of equal work is easier to understand than work of equal value. Later, the Article 119 was amended and now is more complex and really articulated. But I want to focus on the origin of this rule. And the reason of this provision was not related to fundamental rights, equal opportunity principles, and so on. Not really. The reason of this provision was related to the fact that in some of the European community founding states, especially in France, the principle of equal pay for equal work was already in place, in force, not yet in many other states. So the advanced countries were worried of social dumping practices. If female wages are lower than men's ones, especially in manufacturing sectors in which women are more than men, the prices of goods could drop dramatically. This episode is meaningful because economic reasons pushed the founding member states of European Community to achieve the gender equality. 70 years later, we are still talking about gender discrimination, gender gap, and gender equality. Each member state of European Community previously and European Union now has carried on its legislation on the road of gender equality. In 70 years, many factors contributed to changing things. The cultural perspective, less male-dominated, the commendable work of European Court of Justice, the growth of a new generation of jurists and legal experts with a new approach of sex and gender relationships. Traditionally, the benchmark, the model for lawmakers, regulators, was the white heterosexual men. In Italy, also Catholic. Let me give you an example. In the Italian Civil Code, the Article 2110, currently in force, places pregnancy and motherhood at the same level as the illness or the injury of the worker. The Italian Civil Code was issued in 1942, and pregnancy was considered like an accident, a disruptive factor. Pregnancy, motherhood, these are other two key words. The capability to give life was considered, in a lot of cases, is considered a negative quality, a factor of discrimination, something that decreases the value of female human beings and their work. What a paradox, what a nonsense. Only from the 70s, in many European countries and European institutions, politics, lawmakers, courts focused on the value of motherhood, not only from an individual point of view, but also from a collective point of view, a value for the society. Previously, protections were given to working mothers, later to working parents, moving the focus from motherhood and women to parenthood, so both parents. Children have not only mothers, but fathers too. Finally, also for the European Community directives and national legislators. Now the attention is shifted on work-life balance instruments, and as Professor Tiraboschi said before, work-life and health balance instruments. Work-life balance measures represents the only way for working women in Europe to reach the gender equality. And that's not enough. I want to underline that this is a big issue, because if women don't work, if they are forced to choose between children and work, they don't make babies. It is a matter of fact. The fertility rate, the birth rate, is dropping in many European countries. In Italy, is dramatically low. On the other hand, the European population is getting older and older. Employment policies, welfare policies are strictly related to family policies. For women, work means economic independence, personal growth, self-realization, choice and chance to have babies. Yesterday was the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. Violence is based on biases, stereotypes, discriminations. Violence has not only physical or psychological forms of expressions. Economic violence is violence. Economic violence against women is violence against women. Gender wage gap is a form of violence. The road to gender equality is still long. Legal, economic, and cultural measures and instruments are essential to reach the goal. I want to make the last example. In the specific context of research organizations and higher educational institutions, the European Commission considers a gender equality plan as a set of actions aiming at achieving gender equality. And to adopt a gender equality plan is become compulsory for universities if they want to get money from Horizon Europe program. It will be an eligibility criterion for all public bodies, higher education institutions, and research organizations from European Union member states and associated countries wishing to participate in Horizon Europe. Once again, after Treaty of Rome, the economic motive could be a driver for a just case. Thank you.